you have the process. I think it will be the questions for the interviews and the rubric and whatever else you typically use for hiring, other than what we have in the advertisement.
This policy 2210, does it have to have 2 readings?
We're not writing that policy. Which one are you talking about?
That's what the policy is.
Oh, superintendent, yeah.
So we can't vote on that tonight.
So
No, it's the second
First
reading
reading.
will be May 11th.
so we won't have a standard until May 11th.
Yeah, you won't have a position description that when they look on the website, they will see the old description. And what you can do is you can post the old description and the revised one that you believe will be approved in case candidates start looking, if that's what you decide to do.
How about every Friday, take a look at what comes in and schedule appropriately, because you don't want to do, take a look at them and at least weed out. This person doesn't, you know, at least do that. You have no idea how many you're going to receive.
Right, but you have to have a deadline. Because then you sit down and look at all of them. I don't think you can take every Friday and go through a few. You really have to get all that you're going to accept by a certain time.
What is our first meeting in June, our first meeting in June?
Too late.
And we could develop additional meetings to get this process.
Yes,
I
I think
exactly.
I
I
think
think
that's what you're talking
If
about.
you're gonna publicly advertise this soon, I mean, you need to make a decision on that, then you should be meeting on a weekly basis, because you only have
Thank you.
60 days.
It's just like hiring.
June 8th,
You review what you get in,
you have 2 meetings in June.
I don't know that you
8th and
review what you get
22nd.
in, but you're gonna need to meet weekly to begin to develop your interview questions, all those sort of things. And I do think, give consideration to whether you enforce that last provision of the policy requiring someone's spouse to be present. In my non-legal opinion, that seems very antiquated. I've never had a spouse come to an interview that I've given.
What if they don't like that person?
Possible, yeah, and that may not, that might be awkward.
Yeah, I think that's.
I don't want my husband at an interview that I'm giving, and I think the average professional wants to stand on their own 2 feet.
here you go.
Anybody here disagree with that?
Okay.
I think Amanda would do a great job talking to you.
Well, if we change it, then it has to have 2 readings.
It just says whenever possible, so what I would just say is you don't ask people, please bring your spouse, you just say we expect you for the interview.
And does your office have any kind of example of a rubric? I need to develop that from this job description.
My office does not, I've never given superintendent interviews, but I suspect Kieran can probably gather some from folks around here about what they've used, other boards, and I can put some feelers out as well.
I mean, you know, we could look at Littlestown, who just hired a superintendent, and as to what they use.
That's true, did they have that outside?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, that would be very helpful.
I can put together rubrics, Mr. Matthews, and then I can also run on that grade.
Well, that's
Well,
the majority
let's-
right there.
Let's see what Karen can do from the list.
And I'll put it on my list. I mean, I was able to find a lot of application stuff when we did searches. I had an associate look, so there might be some out there. I mean, it's possible.
You're looking for, are you looking for a rubric to paper screen the applicants? Is that what? Okay.
The first screening process, you can
Okay,
have rubrics.
just so I know what you're looking for.
And even maybe board questions. There might be some, a board might give you their interview questions. Could be helpful.
Is there a date you wanna have set another meeting for, to get this process going?
I do.
Again, weekly.
Forgot to bring my phone.
I have mine. I have mine.
What I will do is send out some options from my office tomorrow. And ask you guys to pick another date pretty soon.
And what will we be doing at this next meeting?
We'll need to develop a screening process. If we can't develop, we need to find a deadline tonight if we could.
And a second reading.
But if we can't, that's our next goal. We have another reading of the job description, develop the rubrics.
there a consensus on when you wish to start advertising?
Not until after we finish her interview.
Is there a
Is
reason?
there a consensus to consider Karen's interview first before you advertise? That answers both questions, if that's the
Well,
case.
I think we should,
No,
I think we should process the internal first.
I think we should do both as soon as possible.
We'll do Karen's first and do that immediately after that, if we want to advertise, and we need to do that immediately.
We should do Karen's as soon as we have the process down that we'll use to interview all applicants. So at the next meeting, we'll have approximately a week from today, we'll pin down that process.
Which will be somewhere like May the 4th,
Which I can tell you,
yeah,
You want to calendar?
it's not gonna help.
May the 4th.
Oh, okay, you're scheduled, okay, you know that.
May the 4th, because you can shoot for May the 4th. And then if you have a conflict,
We can change it.
you change.
May the 5th, I think, will be better for me.
Tuesday, May the 5th.
Tuesday, May the 5th will be a tentative
What time?
date at 6 p.m.
Do we have to advertise that?
it might look I shouldn't be here.
No,
because of
I
that,
think they're, yeah.
You know, and
We
that,
need to advertise that meeting for May the 5th, tentatively May the 5th for our next meeting.
They wanna meet the 5th. Karen will take care of advertising. She was just asking me a question, how much of that meeting should we prepare for? Will you need legal advice for? And I said, you can schedule it as a public meeting to the extent that you need to go into executive session. It might be advisable. I don't know that you wanna advertise all of your questions to candidates who might read your minutes. So, and it may or may not be appropriate for a potential candidate to be a part of that discussion, so
So that should be executive session.
it might be. We'll have to consider it and make sure we have a legal reason for executive session, but just realize it may not be a strictly public meeting. We might have reason to call executive session.
Okay.
That would just be advisable. You don't want anyone to know what your
What your
interview
questions
questions are
are
in
in
advance
advance.
potentially.
Right, that wouldn't be fair.
Yeah,
If the full board was just a policy.
or it might be one that you just tell Karen not to show up for.
Be a policy committee if Karen doesn't show up.
Yeah.
It could be a policy committee.
I would recommend it's all, you know, it's full board because you're, by this recommendation today, you're appointing full board to act as a, I don't know,
Interview.
motion for to initiate the application process to fill the vacancy effective July 1.
Okay, so next, could we spend a minute trying to develop a timeline related to this? We know July 1 is our deadline. And we need probably 30 days to go through the selection process. What is our deadline for accepting applications?
I would say June 1st myself. If we're gonna advertise, June the 1st would be our deadline. But that gives us 30 days to go 2 days and go through the process.
It seems like anything sooner than that, Mickey, wouldn't be enough time to get the word out and get
Right.
applicants back.
Right.
So I think you're probably pretty close. Any other board comment?
just advertise as soon as you can, which would be after the election, anytime after the election.
The word will go out.
Yeah.
And the deadline would be June 1st.
Yes,
To receive applications?
yes.
I think so.
So am I
30 days.
am I reading the state law that says that we have a full year after the vacancy to fill the vacancy? Am I reading that wrong? We don't have a full year, we have to have hired someone by July 1st, is that what you're telling us?
Right.
No, we could have an interim.
I think you're gonna get to my last question.
Sorry.
That's okay. And Brooke, I have to pose this question to you, but how will the pending litigation affect this process?
I can't provide my legal advice in public on that matter. I can certainly answer questions in executive session to the extent that it's appropriate.
I think the board's gonna have to know the answer to that question.
Well, then maybe we should adjourn to an executive session. Because we'll address it now.
After
You're
this,
here.
we're having an executive session after this, is that correct? After the regular
But
board meeting?
I think Lonnie's comment is, in order to move things forward within the board meeting,
I see.
There seems to be a few different ways to handle that, and I think the board needs to hear the solicitor's advice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We can call an executive session now.
Okay.
You're just in time, executive session.
Right now?
Don't sit here.
Well, what we should do is just start the meeting and then call it, that's the best way to do it.
So are you adjourning your meeting so we can start the other meeting? Okay.
Is that